In Italy, for 30 years under the Borgias, they had warfare, terror, murder, bloodshed, but they produced Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and the Renaissance. In Switzerland, they had brotherly love. They had 500 years of democracy and peace. And what did that produce? The cuckoo clock.
Welcome, everyone, back to another iteration of Let's Take 5, the podcast where we look at one of the greats of cinema and discuss their excellence and range. My name is Eric Martindale.
My name is Austin Luker.
And are we sure that that's recording?
Mm-hmm.
But now all of a sudden it jumps up. See what I'm talking about?
Look, this was still movement, and that was just because I just moved the mic and made it larger sound.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. Well, I'll cut this. It's okay. Just take a second.
Welcome, everyone, back to another edition of Let's Take 5, the podcast where we look at one of the greats of cinema and discuss their excellence and range. My name is Eric Martindale.
My name is Austin Luker.
And today we are doing our wrap-up episode of Orson Welles. The previous films we covered were Citizen Kane,
The Third Man,
Othello,
Touch of Evil,
and Chimes of Midnight. And today we're just going to discuss the wrap-up. In case this happens to be your first wrap-up episode, I, for whatever reason, can never remember the 5 films that we cover. I did remember Citizen Kane because it was Citizen Kane. And but usually we take a little lighthearted approach, not too analytical in this film or in this podcast or this version, the wrap-up. And we're just going to talk a little bit about what we saw in Orson Welles. Austin, were you happy with this 5? Did you enjoy Orson Welles?
I think this is one of the most confusing 5s we've done, because I think when you talk about, is Orson Welles a great filmmaker? Yes, absolutely. Is he a great actor? Yes, absolutely. Does he have 5 great films? I'm not sure sometimes, because he is someone through his own ego, through being screwed over. He doesn't have the wide canon that so many other of the greats do.
It almost seems like a lot of that maybe came from lack of funding and lack of opportunity rather than...
And being screwed over.
Yeah.
And so much of that. So, to me, the best films we covered were Citizen Kane, masterpiece. Mm-hmm. Third Man, right up there. Film he did not direct, but boy, he has a significant presence in. Mm-hmm. And Chimes of Midnight, I thought was really, really great. Mm-hmm. And those are all really good films. I'm also a big fan of F for Fake, his absolutely bonkers final film, which is a documentary he made about lying, I guess. It's about many things. He tells the story of how that, I forget the guy's name, that one guy faked a biography of Howard Hughes. He talked about art forgers for a while. He talked about magicians for so much magician imagery, just about how all films are a lie, and how all editing's a lie. It's 90 minutes of madness, and it's madness in a way that at a new creative renaissance for him. And he felt I'm going to keep making these essay films, and then he died. So it was almost a hint at what could be, and that movie is just the weirdest thing, and it's great. And that to me was something that I thought he succeeded at more than those other films like Mr. Arcadian or The Trial or Macbeth, where it's I get what you're going for, but it's not as powerful as a lot of your other stuff. And powerful is a word that always fits with Orson Welles for a reason, because he's Charles Foster Kane.
That's right about. That's exactly what I'm going to say. Kind of right there, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Where do you go after creating Citizen Kane? And particularly a movie that you wrote and you directed and you created. This was your creation. This wasn't you had some amazing breakout performance or some fantastic directorial debut, which both of those were in this film, but this was your creation. You, out of your mind, create the greatest film of all time, arguable, but certainly what a lot of people consider to be. And now what do you do?
Yeah.
Now what?
And I think he struggled with that. His later years, he's a crazy cameo in the Muppet movie. Great cameo. But Transformers, the animated movie, is his last thing. One of his last most public things was the outtakes for him getting too drunk during that wine commercial, which is still the funniest thing in the world. But he did not... Francis Ford Coppola, he's still alive. And when he dies, we're going to look at, this guy had a couple decades of amazing stuff, and a couple decades of pretty mediocre stuff, but nothing except for Jack. Nothing too embarrassing. He's still ending out, people still see that name in high regard, even though he hasn't had a great film in literally decades. But it's still Francis Ford Coppola.
Right.
People buy that wine just because it has Coppola on it. And I think it's something different. I think it's. I mean, Orson Welles was more public than Coppola is. We don't see Coppola in every interview ever about things. And I don't know. The story of him is just a really kind of sad and interesting one that is worthy of his films, oddly enough.
A lot of people, I mean, this happens to, and it's of every walk of artistry, right? Like, Bob Dylan doesn't write songs like he used to. Like, he's still alive. He hasn't written a song like he used to in a really long time. Like, you know, this happens all across the board. It happens with writers, you know. Harper Lee only wrote one To Kill a Mockingbird. You know, she didn't write multiple. So, like, these things happen, and it doesn't remove the artistry. It doesn't, like, say, oh, they weren't talented. It just says, you know.
It's kind of funny when we have directors who, like, they just have one, like, I mean, there's a moment they kind of forget how to direct. And that's okay. Like, I mean, John Carpenter, you know, his last movie wasn't very good. It's fine. It happens. Rob Reiner definitely forgot how to direct.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on with his last, like, 5 films? But there's, like, at least 2 big ones right now that weirdly are still, like, at the top of their game. Spielberg and Scorsese are not half-assing it.
Yeah.
Silence was the last Scorsese film, and that's, like, now a top 5 Scorsese for me.
Really underrated.
So good. And so underrated was Bridge of Spies for Spielberg. He had the BFG since then, and that was okay. Yeah. But Bridge of Spies I thought was excellent, and there's some really good buzz coming out for The Post, which is about to come out by Spielberg. So, like, and, like, Bridge of Spies is something like the first 10 minutes has, like, no dialogue. It's just, like, an amazing, like, paranoia chase scene. I'm like, this guy's, like, 50th film. Why is he still this good?
Yeah, no, I mean, Scorsese that way as well. You know, you're certainly right about that. But, like, Orson Welles, it's a little uneven, right? Because like, he did these great films, or he did Citizen Kane, and then he really doesn't do anything good for a long time after that. I mean, he's just in The Third Man, but
well, he had, like, right after Citizen Kane, he was ready to, like, he was ready he was ready to beat Citizen Kane. He was adapting this beloved novel, The Magnificent Ambersons. And to this day, there is still not his cuts available because the studio screwed that over so much. I watch cuts. I don't know what's happening in the story.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be like a very, like, family drama about America, like a really kind of classic, like, movie. It looks great, but you still can't find a cut that is Wells' vision, and that's his second movie. So yeah, this is a guy who struggled, and he's not the personality to, like, you know, bend the knee kind of thing.
And that was a big part of it, right? Like, you know, you had 2 things butting ahead here. You had everything we know about who Orson Welles is, and everything we know about how the studio system screwed him over, which is like oil and water. Like, those do not
No,
really
it was never an era for auteurs in the same way that we have now. It's still a little bit tricky, but it's not the same thing.
Well, I think studios are which is kind of weird, is I do feel like they're willing to take more risk.
They are now,
I mean, like, we were talking about Rian Johnson. Basically, his biggest claim to fame, other than Looper, was he was good directing a few Breaking Bad episodes. And he was handed Star Wars.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's his 4th film.
Yeah, it's not only just like the directing of it, but the
writing
of it
and the only writing credit for it as well. That's not what happened for Force Awakens.
And it's not what happened for Orson Welles.
No, God, no. Oh my God, I would watch Orson Welles in Star Wars so much.
I mean, we talked about it a little
It would be
bit.
about how Vader was great.
I saw a P.T. Anderson quote the other day. He was talking about if he directed a Star Wars, they asked him what it would be like, and he said, "Fucking depressing."
It's just Tatooine slaves the whole time.
The whole film is about that.
And Daniel Lewis is the slave master.
Yeah, there's some weird inappropriate masturbation joke in there somewhere, probably, or something like that.
Daniel Lewis is an alien with 3 arms.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? But you know, backpedaling here to Orson Welles. I mean, we talk about it on the Touch of Evil episode. I mean, the guy wrote, what was it? It was a
58-page memo.
58-page memo in response to the way the studio cut the film after he was done. I mean, at what point does 58 pages cease to be a memo? Like, you know, it's kind of like trying to figure out how many cattle need to be in the herd before it counts as a stampede.
Yeah.
It's
a good line.
And this is something he's very, very passionate about, right? I mean, and he was probably, there was so much poured into that is a history of just him feeling, run over. I mean, this guy made Citizen Kane. Yeah. He should be allowed to create his own film after that.
Also, I mean, it's not their headliner of the year. They plan to release this as a double feature with noir. It's a noir film. If they two have made time, 50 a year. Mm-hmm. Just release it. You're editing it in a way just to spite him.
Yeah.
And in fact, there are still 3 different versions of this movie, which is it's a mystery movie. You can't cut too much stuff.
Yeah.
It has to make sense. And it is an ambitious movie, but it's not ambitious in a way of oh, this can't be filmed today. Oh, the censors have to cut this and this. It's still edgy, but it's not. He's not delivering a film that couldn't be aired. He wasn't
probably why he was so pissed off.
Yeah, guys, I did it for you. And The Lady from Shanghai is another really good noir film. That's less about class and race than Touch of Evil is, but still a rather good noir film. Has a great final sequence in a Hall of Mirrors at a carnival, which is just a delight to watch. Orson Welles unofficially direct that. He is not officially the director, but he definitely directed that movie. And it's a contradiction. It's a contradiction worthy of Kane, his whole career.
Well, I mean, that's the weird thing. It's by the end of his life, he's like parts Falstaff and Charles Foster Kane, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's obviously pretty ironic. I mean, we talk about the 2 parts of his one play. It was Charles Foster Kane and then Falstaff. And there's a reason why that's the case, because not only is he like it in his public persona, he's also like that physically.
Yeah.
He literally turns into an amalgamation of those beings.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you talk about art imitating life, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Obviously, Orson Welles this was an inevitable podcast. We were always going to be having a discussion about Orson Welles and about his films and everything. And just as inevitable is to say, look at what he became in the end. That's weird.
You've seen Transformers, right?
I have seen the Transformers.
I have
film,
not.
Yes. Now, people, be careful about what you say about that, because that's a love thing.
Well, that's what. Okay, so I never grew up with Transformers.
Well, I didn't either. You would have had to have an older brother or something who would have been into it. Because I was born in '87, and Transformers was big, a couple years earlier than that. So I caught Ninja Turtles on the upswing, whereas that would have probably aged out a lot of the Transformer fans at that point. So it kind of just missed that way.
But like Ninja Turtles, it is a thing of they are famous toys / larger mythology world and characters.
Yeah, which in Transformers almost explicitly to be toys, created to make toys.
Right.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was at least, I mean, it was a comic before it was anything else. But anyway,
I'm also surprised when Michael Bay's first Transformers came out and it got terrible reviews. It was mostly because this is an empty, stupid Michael Bay blockbuster. But then there's a large amount of fans going, also, it's disrespectful to the Transformers franchise.
Yeah.
And I was just going, what? So I have not seen this animated Transformers movie, because I know there's many different TV shows, different things. This is a franchise worth loving. Is supposed to be bad, right? This animated film?
I don't
or is it good? I have no idea. I've not seen it.
It's good. I mean, I haven't seen it since I was 9. I remember watching it. The first time I saw it was at nap time at the daycare I was at.
Sure.
I was younger than 9.
It was presented as Orson Welles' Transformers.
Yeah, but it is kind of a weird thing. I mean, from the way I understand it and gather is actually people love that film.
Is this Orson Welles a cameo in it, or is
he plays the main villain in it?
Okay, because I didn't know if it was how as we reviewed Marlon Brando and Superman.
But the way I understand it is that he gives some depth to. And if anyone's thinking Eric's talking out of his ass right now, that's because I am. But the way I understand it is that Orson Welles adds a vibrato to the character that otherwise would not probably have gotten. if Orson Welles is doing a film, even if he's making the money off of it, it's still going to be Orson Welles' voice. They're using Orson Welles' voice, so it's going to be amazing.
Weirdly, I saw this exact kind of thing in a review for a film this year where people were referring to Anthony Hopkins brought that gravitas to Transformers 5, colon, whatever the fuck it's called.
There's Transformers. They're on 5?
5, yeah.
Wow.
And Anthony Hopkins in it. It's about King Arthur. I wish we could record your face right now.
It's insane.
You just showed defeat right now.
Well, I don't understand. It's just a general thing. I mean, the films exist because they make money. That's why they exist. There's some people out there that love these films, much like it was like the Resident Evil films. It's like it really, and I know those make substantially less money, but it's like.
But they're also made for much less. Like yes. They kept just making enough for a profit.
It's an extra $80 million, so they keep doing it, and it's like like in Transformers case, it's an extra $300 million or whatever. I don't know how much money they make. I know they make a lot, but isn't there some like. It's just a shame because there's probably some dignity to be found there that they're not even interested in displaying or discovering.
Well, it's also kind of curious with both those franchises of Transformers and Resident Evil. If I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm not. All those are directed by the same person. Michael Bay did all 5 Transformers, and
I think Resident Evil
is PT
1P. No, not PT. It's
Paul
W.S. Anderson.
That's
or
it.
something like that. But I do think he didn't do one of them.
Okay, so he missed one.
Yeah, I think he missed one, but they have 5 or 6. So
yeah, but the Underworld movies, which also has way more than you think it does, all the same guy for that one, probably I think.
Yeah,
it's kind of a curious thing of we mentioned Star Wars earlier because we're all talking about Star Wars. So we're going to the next few weeks. That's the
weird thing about it. Yeah, but the weird thing with
no, but it has it's 9 films. 4 of them were directed by one person.
Yeah. Although people will argue that. You count Gareth Edwards.
Yeah.
Did you say 9? Okay. Yeah. That George Lucas actually was for Return of the Jedi.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was very much on set for Empire and Jedi.
But Urban Kirchner said he was an amazing producer on Empire because he said he just showed up and said, looks good, and walked away basically the whole time. At that point, George Lucas was cashing in.
Yeah.
But regardless, that's not to say you didn't care about it.
I actually heard a great interview with Peter Mayhew, who plays Chewbacca, and they talked about filming in Norway for the Hoth sequences, and he was asked about what is George Lucas like as a director. And he goes, well, it was a particular day. I was sitting next to Harrison. I'm in my costume. I'm very warm. It's good for me. Harrison is not loving the cold as much, and George Lucas walks by and says, "You guys don't look like you've been really through it all. Do you guys mind rolling around the snow some to get some snow all over you?" They did. Well, Harrison wasn't loving it, but
I was going to say,
but now you can kind of picture he had the snow on his eyebrows and such. Mm-hmm. So Lucas still had the little touches that still had disregard for his actor's intentions all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could probably write a book on that. It probably will come out after he's dead.
Yeah.
Because there probably will be a book about it.
Oh, there's so many thoughts.
But, anyway, it's interesting, though, that, it kind of mirrors Marlon Brando a little bit in regards of, doing projects for money, but, he's still really good in them.
Yeah.
Which is probably what the entire Transformers thing is.
Yeah.
Or a wine commercial.
The wine commercials, the outtakes are amazing. We're not going to credit it. We're not going to put the clip at the end of this because that's not the purpose of this. We always do a clip of praising him, but link in the show notes, guys. It's great.
Where do you?
Which we rank? You love to rank them.
Yeah, I do. We're going to have the same.
I think we're going to have the same.
Has that happened before?
Probably. We don't keep notes.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I honestly think there's always been a little subtle difference here and there.
Well, number 1.
Whoa! Go the other way.
Okay, fine. 5.
Even though, obviously, number 5 is Othello. Number 4 is
Touch of Evil.
Number 3 is
Chimes of Midnight.
2 is
Third Man.
First is
Citizen Kane.
Yep. That's it.
Nailed it.
We had the same one. But there is I think that there is a big drop-off between... And I liked Othello more than you did. Mm-hmm. I think there's a drop-off between Othello... Or I guess an uptick between Othello and Touch of Evil, and then another big uptick from
I agree.
To Chimes of Midnight. Chimes of Midnight, Third Man, and Citizen Kane are
excellent films.
Excellent movies,
Yeah.
yes. And even then, I could say in Third Man and Citizen Kane being even more so. And then, Citizen Kane is... I mean, really, it's not, like I said, it's not over... I mentioned this in the podcast, it's like, you can't overrate Citizen Kane. People think Citizen Kane's overrated. That's impossible.
No, it's not. And it's just so much fun. Like, that's what people don't remember.
They forget that. Yeah, they do. And I wonder where that comes from,
It's the prestige, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's...
every critic circle has it number one. It was made 70 years ago, ergo, it's probably not good.
Right. I mean, I guess people hold off watching Gone with the Wind. Same kind of reason. That is a much drier film.
But also way better than Gone with the Wind.
It is.
Yeah.
But Gone with the Wind also is more fun than you would think.
Yeah.
Because it moves.
Now, you want to like that dry movie that's like that and is big and sweeping those Hollywood epics. Mm-hmm. Giant. And I like
Giants.
But that's
hard.
the best example of the one that I can think of. It's like that. No, I think point your lasers that way.
Yeah.
Because you'll watch that whole movie and go, that was good, but it should have been better than good because I spent 4 hours on it.
That's true. That is the 50 time. Like I don't remember 2.5 hours of Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
Remember that 120 minutes scene really well, but there's a lot more to that movie.
Yeah. Well, it won its awards for that 20 minutes.
It did. Now it's time to announce our next 5. As you all know, I previously threw out there Gene Kelly, which had a mixed results with our co-hosts. So I'm going to try to bring some prestige back to the set here. I'm so excited for this 5 because I saw all these films and I adored all of them. I can't wait to rewatch them. It is a French director that is unfortunately not as well known, named Jean-Pierre Melville, who he's awesome. And there's going to be an awkward ad for Criterion Collection the entire time without getting paid by them, but we're going to do it. The 5 are Bob Le Flambeur, which is also known as Bob the Gambler or Bob the High Roller. Then there is Leon Morin Priest. Then there is Les Samurai. Then there's Army of Shadows and Le Cirque Rouge. And just because they all are very, very French sounding, I will know that this is... First one is about a high roller gambler trying to kind of pull off the next big thing so he can stay afloat. Leon Morin Priest is a really awesome and intense is the wrong word, but it's a debate between a young priest and an atheist woman debating things while also sexual tensions in the air. The Samurai is the coolest film ever made. It's a hitman who Drive with Ryan Gosling is going to be as cool as this movie. I love Drive. And then we have a Uprising Rebellion movie and a really awesome heist film. So these are actually super popular things to do, but they have French titles. We're all going I don't know about this. So I'm excited for this 5. We're gonna not have an episode in 2 days. We're gonna come back next week in the new year to start this one. And I'm looking at Eric's skeptical face for now because you haven't seen any of these. But this won't be like Gene Kelly, or if it is,
I got resting bitch face.
Oh, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. What were you going to say? Sorry.
No, this won't end up like Gene Kelly, and if it does, it'll make for some good audio. So,
well, as they do.
As they do. But I also want to thank everyone for listening to us throughout 2017. It is great to kind of have the listeners and feedback we've had. So we've kind of gone through a lot of really cool films and filmmakers. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I think as it is the last episode, I think it's the most impressive thing to me is just knowing that we did this and we actually saw. I mean, we missed 1 week.
Yeah, I think we missed 1 week, and technically we're taking Friday off, but barely. We have an episode still today.
Yeah, I mean, and it's only a 30-minute podcast, but it's we're on episode what?
This is 85 and a half.
85 and a half. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
we've been at this for a while now.
It's been fun. Yeah,
it's been a nice ride.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we started at 86 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll catch you in the new year. My name's Austin Nigger.
My name's Eric Martindale.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Genius is a word that must be used very sparingly, especially in this world of films. There are those who claim it, who don't have it, and others who do have it, that keep the fact concealed for fear of being called difficult, which usually translates as unemployable. So at one time or another, Orson Welles has been considered both difficult and unemployable. I know only too damn well. But from the time of his very first picture, the unforgettable Citizen Kane, Welles' mastery of the medium was evident. Unfortunately, only once, in Kane, was he free to exercise his talents without restraint. Subsequent productions were cut by other hands, or like his Macbeth, made on impossibly low budgets. Yet in every picture he ever made, his brilliance shone through. 30 years ago, Orson Welles received from the Academy what he liked to call half an Oscar for the script of Citizen Kane, which he co-authored with Herman J. Mankiewicz. Tonight, the Academy is honored to give him an Oscar all his own. Earned through his glowing performances, through the inspiration of his direction, and because he is truly that most difficult, unforgivable, and invaluable of God's creations, a man of genius. Orson wanted to be here tonight, but he's filming abroad, and so he accepts, in the medium he loves best, film. From Europe, Mr. Orson Welles.
Ladies and gentlemen, with this great honor, may I say that it's a lot more fun to look forward. Looking backward over some 30 years in the movies is something that I like to do as seldom as possible, but I can't forget that I didn't spend those years alone. Every filmmaker knows how much was done for him and by how many. If I could call just half of all those who deserve it to stand beside me now in front of this camera just to get them in one shot, we'd need Cinerama. It'd be quite a crowd scene. As for the public, I hope that they will understand why this is the more precious just because it does not come to me from them, much less from the critics, but from movie people themselves, the ones who love movies most. We need the public. The public doesn't need us. That's the truth of it. We don't really fill a pressing popular need. We try to create it. And if we didn't love movies as much as we do, if we weren't a little crazy on the subject, there wouldn't be any movies at all. I treasure this award as an expression of this happy lunacy. And may I accept it, please, not so much for what I may have done as for what I hope to do. God willing, I'm going to make some movies that deserve it. Meanwhile, this encouragement is very welcome. With all my heart, I thank you for it.